Good morning. Well, I'm on the trail again, back in the Blue Mountain Birch Cove Wilderness area, and I've been exploring some of the trails around Susies Lake. I'm heading for a spot where I can stop and make some coffee, but just wanted to get more familiar with some of the trails here. There's been trails here for years. This area has long since been used by fishermen and hunters and trail hikers and mountain bikers and people just looking for a little bit of a view off of what's known as the bluff. And that's where I'm standing right now. I'm standing on the bluff overlooking Susies Lake. I'm going to do a spin around so that you can appreciate the view that I have. Beautiful morning. It's about 12 degrees, and it's Wednesday, the 5th day of October. Enjoy the view. Simply amazing. Real treasure to be here. I'm going to move on, and I'm sure I'll find some interesting things to show you as I go. So in the last video, when I had my lunch on the Evil Birch Trail, I showed you a witch's broom. It was up in a tree, a little hard to get at. But here's one, just at my head height. I'll show you where it starts. On the fir tree, down that branch. And there we have it. This one's still alive. Hasn't died off yet. What a cool little thing. All right. So through the smoke, what we're looking at is I bought one of those little tiny collapsible stoves from China. I bought it on eBay. This is one of the early versions. It isn't one of the newer hinged versions. It's kind of based on the concept of an emberlit, but it is extremely unstable little stove. If you move it around too much at all, the sides literally fall apart. There's no real locking mechanism. All the little cutouts where the side plates hinge together are in the same direction, so as a result they'll slide apart at the easiest movement. So what I did is I pre-stuffed the stove with some birch bark and some tiny twigs, and because the bottom floor plate has holes in it, I decided to light a little bit of birch bark, as you saw, lay the stove on top of it, and then have the flames feed up through. Now it is in a fireplace with a rock base, so there's no concern about fire spreading from here. And as that starts to ignite and the stick starts to ignite, I have some longer, thicker pieces of hardwood. Now there you go, the stove just opened up in the back. Alright, this isn't going to work for a cooking stove today, I don't think. I have to see how stable it remains. Might be able to do something with suspending a pot over it. In the meantime, though, I'm going to have to do some work here, and I'll bring you back. I guess I was able to get it to work. I put a rock on the back side where the stove sprung apart just to give it some support. And you can see it's a tiny stove in relation to the percolator I'm using as a kettle right now. It'll take a little while. It doesn't have quite the heat, say, of an emberlet, but it does build heat, and it is going. So when it brings that water to a boil, I'll make some lunch. So lunch today, old trail staple, ramen noodles. But in this case, they are Smith & Jones curry noodles. I picked them up at the bulk barn a little while ago, and they are some of the best ramen noodles that I think I've ever had. There is some better ones available, but these ones have a curry flavor that is second to none. Nice, strong curry flavor. So good old ramen noodles, but we're going to amp it up a little bit with some beef jerky. Good old Crave beef jerky. Chili lime. It has enough heat all by itself. So together, in a heavy-duty freezer bag, I have the noodles in there, the jerky in there, and the spice packet all in together. And I have a nice cozy. It's a two-part cozy. So the noodles with the water will go into the bottom part of the cozy. I'll slide the top over. Give it 10 or 15 minutes. Probably doesn't even need that. This is ramen noodles pretty much cooked right in the bowl. But I'll do that because I have some other work I want to do here to set up for another portion of the video. So that will be lunch today once we bring our water to a boil. Oh yeah, good boil. Good boil. Now, you can do this without spilling it. Nice. There you go. Whew, hot. Like I said, I probably don't need a cozy, or at least a double cozy today. Beautiful day that it is. But that'll cook and keep warm. And I can come back in half an hour, and that probably still very much like a boiling warm pot, bowl of noodles. Okay. So while I was sitting here waiting for the water to boil, I came up with a little tool, just a little piece of pine, that dry pine that's off the tree. It kind of looks like a spatula, maybe the startings of a spoon. Spatula is actually what it is, and I have a specific purpose for it that I'm going to show you shortly. Right now I have to get set up for that. I'm going to start to make my coffee. Okay. So as my noodles rehydrate in the cozy, I've stoked the fire back up a little bit so I can start my coffee. So my coffee today is going to be something I don't usually do in the woods, and that is percolator. So I did use the percolator to boil the water that I used for my noodles, but now I'm going to set it up to do coffee as well. So my coffee percolator with coffee in it, so I have probably 2.5 cups of water in the percolator itself. And there's the coffee I wanted to show you before I put the cover on. I probably have 4 or 5 tablespoons of coarse ground coffee, and that's important when you're doing a percolator. You have coarse ground coffee. The coffee is going to be boiled over into it repeatedly, but you don't want the fine grinds to go through the screen into the coffee itself. So there's my coffee. There's the cover. Place down inside the pot. Put the cover on. And get that on the fire. Now this is going to be a bit tricky with this little stove. This is a funny little stove, and I'm going to have to keep it maintained because it will go through this wood quickly, and I need it to be flaming pretty hard. As you can see, as soon as I put the stove on, it kind of dampened the flames a bit, but I need a pretty hard flame to get that water to a boil and perk up through the top. So as it starts to perk, I will show you that in action and bring you back. It took a bit of work with this little wood stove, but there it is. Coffee's perking away. I'm going to let that go for a few minutes, probably 3 or 4 minutes. The longer you let it sit, the stronger the coffee will get, to a point anyway. Right now it's working well. I'll let that perk for a few minutes, and I'll go and sit down and then start to enjoy my lunch. So there's lunch. Lunch today is ramen noodles, curry flavored, with some key lime, beef jerky ground up and put in. I want to tell you, this is spicy but very tasty. The bowl that I'm using today is different than the one I usually use. This is a gift that I received from my daughter a couple years ago. The Sea to Summit collapsible silicone bowl has a hard base on it. The set that she gave me also came with a plate with a hard base, which was really quite nice. Don't use it very often, but it's very nice. And the third piece of the set is what I'm going to be using for my coffee cup today, if I can just get it undone here. There we go. And that'll be my coffee cup. What's cool about both of these items is that they completely lay down flat, and I just carry them nestled inside of each other, and they take up 3/4 of an inch together. Not very traditional, but very effective and very lightweight and very space efficient. Okay. Wow. Another beautiful day in the woods. Early October, unseasonably warm. I think it's slowing the changing of the color of the leaves, but we'll be out again. We'll see some more development of those colors. Well, I guess all good things must come to an end, so I've had my lunch, enjoyed a good cup of coffee, and I've about an hour and a half, 45-minute walk back to where I parked my car, so I have to get going. That's the thing about October into November. Got to get earlier in the morning to enjoy a longer day, and then head back earlier if you're not staying the night. I'll turn the camera back on if I find anything interesting that I think you might like to see. But if not, this is Mark from Shunpike Bushcraft. And if you enjoy this video, please subscribe, like, share it with your friends, and as always, leave comments below. See you soon.